Bethany Scott here, and welcome to my channel. Today I am reviving a favorite of mine, which is Embossing Folder Fridays. I used to do a lot of Embossing Folder Fridays back in the day, and I just thought I haven't done one in a while. I just cleaned up the crafty space, eliminated a lot of things, found a lot of doubles, so guess what? Another giveaway is going to have to happen too, by the way. But I found some things that, hey, I have wanted to use, I haven't used for whatever reason, or things I had really cool ideas. But I just got my embossing folder of the month from Spellbinders, and well, of course, that was a given. I just needed to start playing around and figuring out ways to use the embossing folders again. It's one of my favorite fast, easy techniques, and you know, it's just one of those, you can do it a lot of different ways and elevate it. And so today I have this idea in my mind. We'll see if I can translate it onto paper. Fingers crossed. So let's take a look. It is, sorry for the lighting, it might be a little hard to see with this, but it is called Coral Impressions, and it's basically kind of like seaweed and coral. That's how I would describe it, is seaweed and coral. So I really like it. I think it's gonna do a lot, but I definitely want to experiment a little bit with the embossing folder. So before I get too far, I'm going to go ahead and grab it's kind of a seafoamish green. It's not exactly seafoam green. It's more closer to mint. You can see a little bit closer. But I am going to go ahead and cut this down I'm going to trim it probably later, but to start off for the embossing folder, I'm going to do 5.5 by 4.25. Since that makes the most sense to me, just create some card front panels while I'm at it. No big deal. So this is just for fun video. I don't actually have a person this is going to, and too bad I'm not doing it live, or I could do a giveaway, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm going to start giving away cards. As long as I can remember to do that. I aim to do some lives, probably in about a month when the children are in school again. So I make no promises though. I have high ambitions to do it, but we'll see. And I am going to take a trick out of Simon Hurley's book and just spritz a little bit of water on the embossing folder. It just helps it ease into the machine, and I'm going to speed past putting it through my machine and be right back. Alright, the big reveal. Well, apparently I didn't splatter it very evenly, but it's still really cute. So, that's just me not being used to that spray bottle. I just got it probably a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not used to it yet. Just gonna be honest. Alright, so this is the part where I'm not sure it's gonna work, but we're gonna try it anyways. I have some Astro paste, and it's Tropical Tango, one of my favorite of the Astro pastes. You can see it's already dug into a little bit. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just use my finger actually. Yeah. We're gonna just use finger smudging here today, but we're giving that edge of the embossing folder some definition by smearing that glitter right up to the edges. So it's just one of those, we're defining the edges with a different technique, a different medium, making it a little more mixed media today. And a little messier, which is okay. But It's going to have some glitz and glam. And that noise, if you like ASMR, is kind of fun. If you're not into ASMR, feel free to fast forward. I will not be offended at all. Because it's still a little wet, it's kind of bending on me, but it's not too bad. This is just another way to make the lines of the embossing folder pop. Like I said, this is in my head how it's going to work out. I have zero guarantees it's actually going to work out. So this is the part where I am crafting by the crafty seat of my pants and seeing what it gets me to. If it gets me to something I really love, an art work, a masterpiece, great. If I don't love it, scrap paper. Or my kids can play with it because they like to steal all the things. I mean, borrow, / take, / steal all the things from my crafty space. So if I leave it out long enough, I'm sure it will get used. I just cleaned up the space yesterday, and it was, you know, nice and everything's in its right place, very OCD-ish, which is very rare for this room, especially when you're a multi-medium crafter like I am. It's very rare to have a clean room. And sure enough, I went away briefly to go take care of some business, left the space, and I would say less than 20 minutes later, I discovered that my son had taken my most used ink pad, my VersaFine, and had inked up this entire desk. The glass mat was completely inked up, which is fine because I can remove that. But then he inked up the carpet outside of the office door. And he inked up my desk chair. And he put his handprints all over his sister's walls. So he will be 4 years old. Well, actually 1 month from today. By the time you see this, it'll not be 1 month from today, but it'll be in less than a month. So, all right, I am done. I think it's fun. I like the unevenness because it gives it that textured illusion of ripples and waves. So I'm okay with the intensity. I didn't want to overwork it where like you lose the definition completely, because it's kind of calming to have the little swooshes of intensity. So there, I have started that. I'm okay with it. We'll see how I feel in a minute, because now I am going to bring in another element. This is something that's been sitting on my shelf for way too long, unused. So it's time. It's just time. So these little doilies, let's see. I'm not sure. That one's cute. This one's the top runner so far. No. And then, oh, the navy blue is stuck, so that's a hard pass. Nope, not the navy blue. Okay, so eeny, meeny, oof, I could do both. Well, I'll do that one, and then I'll keep the other one to the side. So this is more like tone on tone. This would more be if I was trying to make the colors pop for my focal point. We're just gonna go tone on tone. I just like it. I don't know why I do. I can't explain it. But it's gonna be mostly covered up anyways, because we are going to use my favorite things bubbly birthday stamp. This is one of those sad but wonderful things because I found my favorite things along my crafting journey, and the first encounter I was like, oh, that's interesting, very cutesy, and then I just bought a couple of things and I was like, well, okay, I'll stay on their mailing letter and see if anything fits me. And then like they came out with this release and I was just like, oh, I need everything. But it was so popular, it sold out. And my favorite things was the first time to my memory that I actually experienced FOMO. Like because I couldn't get that set, and I put myself on the waiting list for them to do a re-release, which they did end up doing a short re-release, and I just barely got in. Like, they sold out of that second re-release, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, now I just have to, if I see it and I really love it and I have the money set aside, okay, I'm gonna go get it. And that's literally the first stamp company I ever really truly experienced FOMO. And yeah, it's pretty bad. So, of course, they are this year closing their doors. They have their final sale being hosted by Riley & Co. And it's kind of sad. I did do one last order because it was actually the order that I had placed that they had canceled because the dies weren't being shipped in an appropriate amount of time. Ooh, stamped perfectly the first time. We're just going to stamp a couple of elements from the stamp set. And then I'll play and figure out from there. So, yeah, it was just so sad to hear that Riley & Co. is shuttering their doors. Or not Riley & Co. Excuse me. My favorite things. Just because, you know, they really just hit the mark for me on a lot of different elements. So, yeah. And some of their designers just came up with some really great things. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have it all. How do I choose? How do I narrow it down? You know, when you're on a budget and you're trying not to buy all the things. So, yeah, a little sad, a little forlorn about all of that. Let's add this one too. So, I'll be okay. But if you are a fan of my favorite things, go to Riley & Co. They, on their banner, have a My Favorite Things page. And it's a little discounted. I don't know what the discount is right now. There was a little discount when I checked out. But yeah, I definitely am sad about it. And I hope someone buys them and revives it and brings back a lot of these designers that just design these amazing creations. Like from the die sets to like even the kits. That was what hooked me, was the kits. Those kits were just like, could you get any more fun? Like, yeah, I love those kits. All right, I'm getting some alcohol ink markers and I'll be right back. All right, now that I've grabbed markers, I also have grabbed the Nuvo Hair and Skin Tones watercolor pencils. I'm gonna try something. Again, experimenting here. We'll see if it works out. I am very hopeful that it will though. So let's start with some seafoam. We'll do sprigs of dark. And then we'll try to find a lighter color. Yep. We're making it purposefully blotchy. Let's see if we can find a lighter green. Or blue, I mean. Mint blue, sure. See how that shows up. Perfect. Because in combination with the color behind, because remember, I'm purposefully, if you saw the last time I did coloring with alcohol inks, I'm trying to expand my color palette by not stamping on white so much anymore, but forcing myself to color and use coloring techniques on colored paper. And it's definitely stretching me. I think even the other day when I stamped on white, I used a color that just turned out this crazy neon color, and I was like, ugh, gross. And to tie it in, we'll just take that same color right there. We'll do oops, I just dribbled in her hair, sorry. You gotta be careful sometimes taking these caps off, because they are occasionally filled with a little bit of ink, and you may not know that that's there. Here, grab another random teal, anchor the teals over here, and I think this little guy needs a teal. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna try to do her fins with purple, or not fins, her fishtail purple. Start off purple, and we'll go to, let's try pink. Let's see how pink goes. Coral pink. That's too orangey. Light something. I can't read this close. That one might work. Let's try this one too. No. Last one. So I do enjoy testing out colors. Nope, this one's the best one so far. So test out the colors, especially if you are working with not white. But even then, I've learned that the caps don't always match what you see. All right, and then that was pink, purple. So I'm gonna just add some more blending back and forth right where they switch. And then kind of just blending it in as if it's kind of a shadow. Oops, I overdid it. Oh well. Could try the colorless blender, see if it does anything for this. Pushed it back a little. All right. The colorless blender, it's really more for combining colors. It's not having a whole lot to do with actual removing of the color, but it's a good concept. Let's try a reddish. And then let's try lavender. And this one's gonna get the lavender hat, because why not? And let's see, we have a vivid purple. Vivid purple? Yeah, I guess. It's pinkish purple. Or magenta. Whoops. Throwing markers at myself. Alright, let's try green. That'll work. And then blue. One more blue that's not so teal. That'll work. All right, so this guy is going to be blue for most of his body. And then we're going to try this yellow-green. Let's see how this does. I'm not even going to test it. I'm just going to do it. Yep, works for me. So now I'm just blotching it in. And I'll bring that pastel blue back in. A little stronger to blend. Works. All right. So this other fish, since that one's green blue, should be like sky blue, perhaps, all over. Which ironically is very similar to the color of the hat. And then we will edge him with a gray. Let's try the gray. Let's see how I feel about it. It's a blue tinted gray. Meh, doesn't do much. So, let's see if we can use this turquoise. There we go. Just adding little flecks. And a little smiley face, because why not? And blend it back with the sky blue so those lines aren't so stark. There we go. Soften that right up, make it look natural and normal. Little tiny spots, nothing super fancy. Just a little hair of it. All right, so now this little princess, she needs some color. We're gonna put, let's test that color. Oop, too dark, way too dark. Let's try this one instead. That's better. Okay, so the frosting on her cupcake is gonna be purple, as well as her top. Let's hide those in. And then let's try this pink. Forget if I like it or not. Nope. No, I like the other one better. All right, bringing back the other pink I used before. And now is where we get to bring these in. I really hope all the work I just did is not in vain. We're going to start with the bow first because that's the easiest for me to say nope. So I'm going to take my pencil, and because it's watercolor, it's not true. It's not a true colored pencil. It's meant to be with water, but I'm not looking for a watercolor look. I'm just looking for that pigment. And since I cannot locate where my children have misplaced my colored pencil stash to, this is what I got. The reason why I wanted pencils though, because I wanted the color to sit on top of the colored paper instead of blend in. So it's kind of like painting on a canvas. You're trying to ignore the backdrop. And by the way, I'm switching between 3 different pinks here. They're supposed to be natural tones, but I am using it to make a zhuzhy little bow here. All right. Bring that base color back in at the very end. So yeah, I am definitely loving the pastel-y look of this. So now we're gonna try to give her some pale blonde hair. Again, wanting it to sit on top of that teal. And if I have some oopsies, it's okay. This is my experiment. But anytime you watch me coloring, you should hopefully have figured out by now, I try to stay and keep my lines within the angle of the design. So if there's a swoosh here, I'll follow the swoosh until I find another line differential to follow along with. That way, you know, if you do leave some white somewhere, it looks like it's on purpose. That's just something I've learned to do over the years. Does it work all the time? No. All right, this one I'm testing. Ooh, she may be too brown. Maybe. I don't know about this one. This one might be too peachy. Do we want her pink or brown? What skin tone should we use? Let's see. What are the... Oh, they actually have names. Oh, soft apricot. And this one is desert camel? Yeah. Okay, we will do the apricot. We're just gonna cave and do the apricot. Alright. And because I'm not sure, I like it. This, I'm gonna go super light. If you watched my princess card the other day for Ellie's birthday, you'll notice that I didn't color the skin tone in because I just wasn't gonna mess around with it, having it not be a it was more of an interpretive choice because it was on blue paper that time. So anyways, now you can see the difference between the alcohol ink and the color pencil. I think it lays on there perfectly, and it actually worked the way I was hoping to. So yay! Little victory dance over here. So let me go ahead and clean up the space so I have enough room, elbow room, to start fussy cutting my most dreaded task of card making. Of fussy cutting. And I'll be right back. Alright, I have my Fiskars scissors that bounce back at me. I'm not going to cut all the way to the edge, but I'm going to cut mostly to the edge. And the reason why I despise fussy cutting is because I feel like I can never get it perfect. And I know the adage is practice makes perfect, but I think I'm just too much of a perfectionist here. I'm actually just cut her down so it's easier. But I feel like I'm just too much of a perfectionist to accept that my lines were intentionally going to look like that. And I have learned and heard, move the paper, not the tool. I feel like I'm doing that, but I don't always feel like it shows that I'm doing that. So, I don't claim that that's what I'm doing, but maybe on some level, perhaps. The other thing, too, is I like to cheat and put it through like a scan and cut, but I will note that when you have colored paper background, it's a little harder to sense it. At least the lines. It takes a little bit more effort to sense the lines it's intended to cut out. So that will not work for today's little project here. I was I was watching a live earlier today as I was working because I need some distraction some days. But it was really funny because the subject came up about being Italian and how, as an Italian, we talk with our hands. The reason I'm bringing that up is when I have scissors in my hand and paper in my hand and I want to talk like this, but I can't because then I might jab myself for the paper or the wrong. It gets... I feel it a little extra because all I want to do is talk with my hands. It's not a good choice. Not a good choice with some fine-tipped scissors here in my hand. But yes, I am Italian. For those of you who are wondering why I would even say such a thing. My dad is, well, we're not 100% sure, actually, if my grandpa was born here or not. He may have been, he may not have been. I never met him. He died just before I was born, so I missed out on that. But, you know, my grandma kept the traditions, even though she was an honorary Italian. She's actually German, but she grew up in a Italian-Polish community area, and so when we went to Pennsylvania to go visit Grandma, there was a lot of pierogies and a lot of pasta. The two P's that ran life, pierogies and pasta. And so, a lot of fun memories of my grandma. She passed away 22 years ago, almost. Or, yeah, a little over. So, but a lot of the things she did and passed along to me, I still see it today, including a lot of the looks. One of my cousins and myself both inherited Grandma's looks. Very much. But that's my dad's side of the family, and I miss them. I miss going to their block parties in the summer. My cousins all sing, so usually one of their friends or a band or someone we know is singing or playing. And yeah, it's also my musical heritage. I learned to play piano at a very, 5, I believe, is when I started. And while I can't say I reached classical, I guess what I would call my greatest accomplishment is memorizing and playing. I can play for release by memory for the most part. A little rusty, it's been a minute. But playing Moonlight Sonata. I thought that was always such a big challenge, but it was such a beautiful piece. And so occasionally I'll wake up from a dream and that song will be playing in my head, and I'll just start mimicking. Here I go, talking with my fingers. No, mimicking the motions on the piano. So I don't necessarily consider myself a great piano player. And not because I don't think I can. It's just I understand that it takes a lot of practice. And when you don't practice, because you got 3 kids and you're working 4 jobs, yeah, there is no time. So I find the enjoyments of listening now. And I still sing, just not as often as I used to. I do play. We do have a keyboard in our house that occasionally a child will want to play a song, and I'll teach them a quick little song. But I also, something that I truly miss is playing violin. I feel like had I stuck with it, I would have become more of a Lindsay Sterling type musician, you know, finding the niche, maybe not dancing and doing acrobatic tricks like she does, but definitely making it a unique experience. Because I was always very much buck the trend, even when I was playing in the orchestra in college. I gotten a scholarship and I enjoyed it, but just always felt like something was missing. There was no styling and no artistic expression. So yeah, felt like I missed out on that. And maybe someday I'll pick it back up. And for me, the violin is like riding a bike. It doesn't take much to remember. Oh, yep, this is okay. This is how I play an arpeggio. This is how I switch keys. Or, yeah, okay. Yep, I got it. Okay, this seaweed, I'm not sure how I want to cut it out. I'm going to kind of just... There's no, like... You either get too detailed or not detailed enough. There's no in between. Because there's a lot of tiny little gaps. So, I'm just gonna... I'm an interpretive dance, this one. Don't mind me. I'm in my own world right now. I am trying to distract myself from the fussy cutting that I'm not keen on. We're gonna thought bubble this. That's what I'm gonna call it. Thought bubble means, to me, at least in the fussy cutting world, that you stop following the lines and you more just go, meh, there's a blip there. Okay. There's a curve there. And it may not be. But this is my version of thought bubble. You may hate it. It's okay. I'm going to be okay with it. All right, last little fish. This one's the party animal too, because there's purple on the hat. I always admire, though, artists like Simon Hurley, who just fussy cut with ease, and I go, how? I can't do that. Like, not that I can't. You shouldn't say can't. But my hands don't work that way. Yeah. Now I just sound like a whiny little baby. Apologies. All right. Now I'm done. Make sure I lock that, or our child will find it and no problem. All right, let me clean up my mess and I will be right back. All right, I have grabbed a blue piece of cardstock. It's very light blue, and I grabbed a couple of sentiments off of the stamp set from My Favorite Things. And now, hopefully, it stamps perfectly the first time around, because that just came off. But I will ink it up with some VersaFine Clair. Yes, you can see my son's handprints, fingerprints, smudges, all that on the back of here. Just to be fancy. And tapping away. great first impression. So we will keep it that way. I wouldn't dare fussy cut this out, except for I'm gonna fussy cut this one out. So I will fussy cut out the hay cupcake. And I will straight cut the other one. Why? Because something has to have bubbles in it, okay? That's why. Can't be always straight-laced and cutting corners, I guess. Those were oxymorons. Ignore that statement. I'm tired. It's been a long day. I still have to go back to work when I'm done chatting here. But anyways, all right, so I'm going to just trim this one down. I have no idea where my smaller trimmers went. Part of cleaning is you lose stuff that you thought you knew where they were and you really don't. So I'm just gonna go with it. And this is really tough because it wants to move when I set it down. Nope, that's as good as it's gonna get. All right, perfect. It'll work. So the sentiment is, hey, cupcake, I'd swim an ocean to celebrate with you. All right, and as promised, I'm going to debate on trimming this down. No, we're gonna keep it a full. So the Astro paste did warp it a little bit, but not too bad. And glue and some pressure will really just make sure that it doesn't warp a whole lot more. I was about to say a whole lot of more. Oh yeah, you think I'm tired? So because this is an embossing folder, my rule of thumb is less is more. No, it's not. You always need more. With embossing folders, it's very easy for glue to get stuck in the holes and not actually to the surfaces that are trying to adhere to each other. So I do a lot more. And I have my fine tip. I have no idea in the cleaning of everything where my other tips went to. So fine tip it is until further notice. So I will just be okay with it and lining it up to the edge here. And then I will place it under an acrylic block. We'll add a second acrylic block for good measure. And then the third acrylic block. I may regret this choice, but thank goodness this has two sides, because what I want to do is take this little bubble stamp. There's actually two little bubble stamps. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to be crazy and wild, but I'm going to ink some bubbles here and hope for the best. Not even sure how it's going to respond. This looks cute though. So far, so good. All right, we'll use the littler one. See what happens with that. And turning it just a hair so it's not seeming like it's all the same. And I think we need one more of the little one. Right here. Looks good. And do we need another big one? No, we don't. It actually looks very good that way. All right, so hopefully it doesn't smudge too. That's another small, tiny little fear that I've just placed inside my brain. But I'm going to start creating the scene. Let's see if she works better here, because I'm going to put the banner on top. We're just basically going to do a scene build on top of this cutesy little doily. Yeah. So she's got her little party friends. And he's going to steal that cupcake. He's eyeing it up. And let's see. We need our seaweed. I think our seaweed's going to be here. Let's place our... She's going to be down there. Our guys just walking in. And they can go over each other. It's fine. Not super worried about that. All right. Okay, I roughly have the elements where I want them. Yay. So now I'm going to just glue. And we're going to practice a zoom in. Don't mind the upper messy part of my desk. Or the fact that I can't keep this straight. But we're going to see how I do with a zoom in. This is the first time I'm trying it with this new camera. So if you hate it, don't hate me. So now, because it's felt, it's going to suck this glue up. And I may have to come back and add more glue later, which is fine. But we're going to make it work. I am determined. Determined to succeed. Uh-oh, now I'm going to start singing songs. I'm determined to succeed. Follow my lead. And yes, indeed, you will be popular. You're gonna be popular. All right, I'm done for the night. I'm literally just gonna have to stop working when I get done and just go to bed. When I start singing, that's when you know my brain is just like, we're on overload. Although I am that person that will go through the house and randomly sing songs, it's just usually when I'm really tired and I've run out of words. So I plan to just glue the back ones down first. And this has become significantly a longer embossing folder Friday than this may be the longest actually. But apologies. I started getting ideas as I was pulling all the elements together. So when the inspiration strikes, you just gotta go with it, even if it's not as simple as you intended when you started. All right, so it looks like the little fishy guy is gonna blow her candle out, but that's okay. That'll be fine. He's a little further into the scene, but there we go. It's a little fun, a little different, and it actually looks cooler in person than what I see on the camera. But now we're going to try a zoom back out. All right, so actually this has gotten pretty flat. I'm very happy with that. Now we have to flatten all the rest of the elements with a lot of glue again, because not only are we doing an embossing folder, we're doing felt. And now I really wish I knew where the rest of my glue tips are, because you can see the felt is just soaking it up. So I'm just going to put random dots on the edge of the felt, knowing I'm most likely going to have to come back behind and add some more after the initial press. Again, felt is a fabric. It's a little more porous than, say, paper. So, in hindsight, I probably could have run it through the Xyron machine, but I only just thought of that out loud now. So that's not going to happen at this point. We've committed to the gluing of all the things. And we're going to do a hair above and place it under a lot of weight, as much weight as possible. Actually, I still need the glue because we got to add our sentiment. And we can still add lots of glue. Hey, cupcake. Starting the conversation up top. And add some weight just to that area briefly for that initial gluing down of the things. The nice thing about the Barely Art glue is it does dry, at least the initial tackiness dries fairly quickly. So we're going to do a hair off center. And I mean a hair. Well, that's a little more than a hair, but it's a little off center on purpose. All right, putting that back under weight. I'm going to individually, so the reason I'm doing this on the side underneath is because it's at a lower level than the felt. Obviously, it's not as thick as the felt, so it needs a little extra pressure while it does that initial drying sequence here. So in the meantime, I'm going to wrap things up. That was definitely a lot longer than I intended. So for those of you who hung in there with me, who are chatting in the chats with me and sticking around and just having some good old fun, learning new things, experimenting, trying mediums that you may not have thought to try. These little felt doilies have literally been sitting on my desk, I'd say nearly 10 years, possibly more. Found them on a sale at like Michael's or something forever ago and picked them up. I actually have a set of red over there too, red and pinks. And I always intended to use it for like, Valentine's or whatever. Yeah. This is obviously the first time I've used them. So I will definitely, it's drying very nicely. But how cute is that? It's shimmery, it's festive, it's a little whimsical, but it still has a nice, cute little seam. And I love it. It's going to be shedding a little bit of glitter while it finishes drying. But I really enjoy the final look of this. And I am thrilled that I was able to share this with you. So there's not much to catch you up on, except for roughly a month. I will be trying to stick to a schedule. We'll see how that goes. I am going to pick my work schedule because now I'm working more hours in my regular, I wouldn't call it a full-time job, but I do have weeks, especially like the last few, where I am working full-time hours. So, yeah. It's a lot of fun, but it's also challenging because it's summer and the 3 children are home without school to go run off to and, be monitored by someone a lot more closely and more structured than I can while I'm trying to work. But anyways, we won't talk about counting down days to the end of school anymore because, hey, I think we're only 14 days away from orientation, so I'll just be happy with that fact. That doesn't mean school starts that day. It just means orientation's that day, so yay. I will be thrilled. And they're excited and talking my ear off about it already, and yeah, it's going to be fun. And I'm sure I will have lots more stories to share as they start school. So anyways, thank you all for joining me today for the reboot of Embossing Folder Embossing Folder Friday. The longest version ever, probably, because if I look back in my archives, I think most of them were between 5 and 10 minutes. So yeah, again, thank you for bearing with me, and enjoy your day. I hope you find the joy in your day, and happy making. Bye.